From the moment you took the CEO job, I feel like from my first time I interviewed you, you didn't call Ford an auto company. You call this a mobility company. What is Ford today?
Well, Ford, we're transitioning from a traditional auto company to an auto and a mobility company, which means, as you think about our core business, it's around designing, developing, and manufacturing great cars, trucks, and SUVs. We're going to continue to focus on investing in that and keeping it strong and growing it. At the same token, you have these, we're going to be aggressively going after these emerging opportunities around mobility services.
Well, it's interesting you call them emerging opportunities because I think some executives would look at Uber as a threat. Do you?
No, we're looking at the trends in the business as opportunities. We're not looking at them as a threat.
Because they're not going away.
Well, they're not going away. Plus, when you look at things as an opportunity, you open up your mind to a lot more different ways you can address the market. And so, part of our Ford Smart Mobility strategy is really we want to be a leader in areas of autonomous vehicles, the cars, it becomes part of the Internet of Things and gets connected, overall just mobility, ride sharing, car sharing. And the reason we're looking at this is because we're looking at societal trends. And
what do they tell you?
Well,
what does my generation, I'm an old millennial, okay? What do the younger folks in my generation tell you about how that's changing?
Well, they're telling you a couple of things. First, particularly in urban areas, millennials want access versus ownership. That's why we're looking at mobility services, because in some cases the reason they want access over versus ownership is just they can't afford it, right? If they live in a large city, it's really expensive, and so, but they still need to be able to get around. So we're asking ourselves, particularly in large urban areas, how do we play a role in that?
You look at Ford Mobility as a startup company, but if you think of an industry that is entrenched and sort of old style, you think of autos, whether that's right or not.
Right.
How hard is it to run a startup within a huge company where your workers are largely union?
Well, it's a great question, and the key is making sure that your entire organization understands why we're setting this up. Because once they understand, if you start these things in large businesses and startups in large businesses, if the rest of your organization doesn't understand why and what's the benefit to the company, guess what happens very quickly?
It doesn't work.
It gets killed, right? So what we've done is we've spent a lot of time with our organization saying, here's our point of view of the world 10, 15 years from now, and it's going to be a world in which vehicles will, in many parts of the world, and even parts of the U.S., the way people have bought, driven, owned vehicles, that will remain the same for many, many years. The same token, in large urban areas, people want access versus ownership.
Let's talk about autonomous vehicles, driverless cars, and how they play into all of this. What has been the most difficult part of it specifically? What's the biggest roadblock?
Well, the areas that we're working through, the technological challenges that we're working through, and that's why we have the largest test fleet now in the industry, is the sensor technology, but also at the same time the software development, the algorithms.
To get it right every time.
To get it right every time, and it's really about understanding the way we as humans actually drive. I'll give you an example. When we're at a four-way stop, when I'm at a four-way stop, I'll look at the stop sign, but I'll also, if there's another car that is stopped just around the same time, I'm looking at their eyes.
You might wave them.
I might wave them, I might see them inching up, and I'm thinking, you know what, they're going to go first. Software in itself is not going to pick that up.
Will it ever be able to?
We're working on it. We're working on it.
So that's the predictive sort of human touch.
Correct.